Two wings of the same bird. That's a sentiment I hear quite a lot in the area. And what it means is both the left and the right are part of the same system. They're both wings on the same bird. They're both parts of the same system. Branden Scrivener, running for federal Congress over in Florida, District 12. And I just want to explore that a little bit with you. So is it true that the left and the right are part of the same system? And personally, I think it is true. Now, not in every case, of course. There are elements or divisions of each party that might be different from the whole, but usually when I hear people saying this, they're talking about the establishment system. So the establishment, Democratic system and the establishment Republican system that try to appeal to their base, but don't actually follow what the base wants. On the Republican side, you can see it a lot locally, where they vote red down the ticket and they advocate for like protecting rural lands, and then those in power say they're going to do that, and then they end up having backroom deals, or they're best friends with a developer or a realtor, and they exploit that to get what they or their friends want out of the deal, not what we put them in power to do. On the left, or the Democratic establishment, I can see it a lot in their policy of people want progressive policy. And by that I mean, like, we want to look at insurance reform, universal health care. We want to look at term limits. We want to look at uncapping the house. We want to look at these systems that have been put in place, and we want change. And again, there are pockets of the Democratic Party who are looking at that, but those who wield the power are getting money from AIPAC, from these big corporations, and regardless of who's in power, those same corporations continue to line their pockets. So then if we can acknowledge this, we have to also acknowledge our part in it. That means looking at candidates, not voting just for a party, not voting for the lesser of two evils, but looking at what options we have to change the system. That's why I'm running, because I believe the system needs to be changed. I think we need term limits. I think we need to uncap the house. I think we need to look at universal or insurance reform. I think we need to look at these bipartisan issues or nonpartisan issues that a lot of everyone can agree with, right? Like data centers in the area, both Democratic and Republican constituents in the area can agree that we don't want large data centers here. So we need to focus on that. Don't get distracted by what leadership tells you about someone else. There are always going to be cases of extremism, right? Don't attribute that to an entire party, and you have to try to distance your self-identity from the party in itself. You can be a Democrat and disagree with the Democratic Party. You can't try not to tie yourself to that party, because then when someone criticizes that party, instead of looking at it objectively, you take it personally. And that not only harms you, it harms the party, it harms the world, because then you're not thinking objectively, you're thinking more emotionally. And that doesn't push policy through. So what do we do is we look at the candidates, right? And if they're a Republican and you're looking for conservative values, where do they get money from? Are they actually believers in what they're saying? Same with the Democratic Party. Part of this too is that we live in a closed state. Florida's a closed primary state, right? So you have to be registered Republican or Democrat to vote for a Republican or a Democrat in the primaries, to filter out the candidates and see who you want in November. So they force you to be a part of the system that way. And if you're a no party or a third party, you participate in the primaries sometimes with certain other measures, sometimes local measures, sometimes maybe ballot initiatives, whatnot, but you cannot filter out establishment candidates. And I think that needs to change as well. We need more advocacy for an open primary system so everyone can participate. In Pasco, there's more, I say it all the time, there's more no party and more independents than Democrats. And there are tons of Republicans. How many of those numbers are truly Republican, for example, or are they independents or Democrats who were forced to switch to the Republican Party in order to vote for a candidate they believe in, like Matt the Welder, for example, for state agriculture, right? I hear that a lot too. Just change your party and then change it back later. Why are we having to jump through all these hoops, right? There are other states with open systems, and there are different ways to do it. I'm not here advocating for a specific way, right? But I think it needs to be more of a conversational topic of opening the primaries. We should not have closed primaries. As a federal candidate, there's honestly not a lot that I would be able to do on that front other than advocate for it. It's more of a state issue. And I think that needs to be part of the conversation of the average voter too, is how do we get open primaries, right? And how do we vote for someone who represents our values and not just for our political party, right? There's no shame in voting for someone of the opposite party or someone of no party who holds your values. That's the only way your values will get through. If you continue to compromise on your values because you believe one side is less evil than the other, but you can admit maybe they still have their wrongs, you're just perpetuating the system and the wrongs, right? You're not alleviating the wrongs, you're accepting them and moving on, and that's just the way it is, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I think a lot of people are starting to feel this way, and there's a lot of people who don't even participate in voting, right? They're not registered, or they are registered and they don't go out and vote, and they feel apathetic and that their vote doesn't matter. So what is gonna reach those people, right? Is it the conversation of, well, yeah, your vote actually doesn't matter, so you might as well stay home? Is it the rhetoric of, your vote does matter, but only if you join my side? Don't vote for how you might feel. The system's stacked against you. You have to join my team now, and we'll only support you if you join my team, and that's the only way change will happen. No, we have to encourage everyone to register and to participate in the election process and to vote for what they feel is right. The system maintains power by making you feel powerless and making you feel like you only have two options, and pushing forward agendas and systems that restrict you to that process. But really, both sides, what they're looking for is power, right? They're looking to maintain their power, or they're looking to gain their power. And when they have the power, they're looking to hold the power. And that sometimes means aligning with these giant corporations and interests that actually aren't for our benefit, because the average person maybe can't donate tons of money to the party, right? So how does the party stay afloat? They get donations, and they get them from special interests. And they listen to those special interests, whether they realize it or not. If a special interest group is taking you out and buying you delicious lobster, right? Maybe in your mind, you're like, I'm thinking about this objectively. No, you just ate delicious lobster, man. You're more likely to listen to their perspective than you are to the resident living down the street in poor conditions who can't make it to your office or can't write you an email because they don't have that resource. You're not hearing their perspective. You're not considering them. You're considering the people supplying you with this delicious lobster meal. So I ask you to seriously consider your options, and please support my campaign. Honestly, I am not part of the establishment system. I'm operating as no party affiliated. That means that I can objectively call out the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. I am not beholden to a party or a president, and I can say things like Israel is doing wrong, and we should not be supplying as much money, if any, to Israel. AIPAC is a problem. Special interests, super PACs are a problem. Lobbyists is a problem. Something everybody can say, right? Yet the people who support these lobbyists and these systems are the ones who continue to get elected and continue to funnel the money to themselves and their friends. It's frustrating, and I'm sure you feel it too, right? You can say it, but then maybe you think there's no way to change it, or it's the way that it is. Let me tell you, the way things are now are not the way things have always been, and they are not the way that things have to be. You know, things like slavery, women's rights, Jim Crow, those things did not happen all that long ago. Right? We're still fighting against policies enacted then. We're still fighting against people with the same ideologies they had then. We need real change in the systems that write the rules, right? Workers' rights didn't just happen from a politician or a lobbyist, right? They happened from real people fighting and dying for those rights. And I am not advocating for you to go out and put your life on the line or do something crazy. No, I'm just saying register to vote and vote because your voice matters. Some elections are determined by a small turnout, right? Like some elections are won by 100, 300 people. And if those people had just registered or come out to vote, something else, another outcome may have happened. The outcome you want may have happened. So please, if you're not registered, register to vote. Consider all of your options. Look at where the money is coming from. Do you support that? Look at the rhetoric from the candidates. Do you support that? Are they who they say they are? And use your voice. Your voice is your power. Encourage others. Talk about it. People say politics aren't my thing. I don't pay attention. Politics are your thing, whether you want it or not. Politics are going to affect your life, right? The determination of what is built in your town, if there's a stop sign or a stop light, if you have the right to choose, if you have personal freedoms and rights, if you have data protection, privacy, if your data can be sold out to companies and the government without search warrants or reasoning. Those are all things determined by the government, some form of it. So you have to wake up and start participating. Okay? It is important that you do so. Please. And don't let others tell you that politics aren't their thing, or it doesn't matter, or the system is rigged against them. It is because they allow it, because we allow it. It's time to stop allowing it and vote and change what people think is possible. If this campaign can do that, we have won in a way, right? If an independent candidate from Florida in a district that's historically red can win, it can show that anyone can do this, that the political parties do not hold all the power that they once did, and that anyone can run for office. I'm a working class husband and father working in the healthcare field. I'm not of political dissent. I'm not of special interest making. I'm a guy who has contributed his own money to this campaign and whose family and some friends have generously also supplied some funding, but not crazy numbers, right? I'm not getting thousands or hundreds and thousands of dollars from special interest groups or lobbyists. I'm getting a couple hundred maybe from like a grandma, and then I'm investing my own money to try to fight the system and be the change that I want to see. I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of hearing people tell me that things are bad and we have no voice. I have a voice and I'm going to use it, dang it. And you should too. Thank you for listening. Branden Scrivener, running for federal congressional office in Florida's 12th district. Please follow, like, subscribe, share, donate if you can. Go to my website, go to my socials, spread the word. I don't have party backing, a built-in volunteer network or built-in donation network, so I really need your help. Even if you're not in the district, if you believe in my message, liking or sharing or commenting or talking about me in any way will help me greatly. I have tried to reach out to news organizations and podcasts and all sorts of things, and to no avail yet, probably because I am an independent candidate or no party affiliation. So I need your help, and others may doubt, but if you stay the course and you believe in our message, we can do this, and we will do this. Thank you.